Good morning. Welcome back to My Point of View. Well, today I'm going to speak about the Indians. The Native Americans, the Indians, whichever way you want to call it. And it's no disrespect either way because it's just like tomato, tomato. Alright? It's nothing meaning by it. Now, the Indians believed in self ownership. Each individual owned themselves. So each individual could sign over ownership of themselves for a certain period of time called indentured servitude. We knew that. We regulated. We did indentured servitude for the longest time. But the Native Americans, you indentured yourself until your debt was paid. It was that simple. So if you was lazy and didn't want to pay off your debt, you was stuck with a master for your entire life. And the master didn't have to feed you. It's just that simple. He could let you starve, do whatever you're going to do because you're an idiot. And that's the truth. Native Americans traded in sweat. They traded in textiles. You know, if they could make whatever they could make, they traded in food. And the base principle of self-ownership. Now, the English never heard of self-ownership. No, the way that works is you're owned by God or by the king, just like everything you own is owned by God or the king. You don't own nothing. Nothing you do is owned by you. That's the view the Pilgrims came with. Yes, the Pilgrims. Even though they made a pact and everything else, they still viewed as everything owned by God. Now, no wonder they were so confused. It's because if everything is owned by God, food and everything else, then it really doesn't matter what output you put in because you're going to get a bunch of food. That's their thought process on it, is God's going to provide. God's going to provide. Well, I'll tell you one thing. God provides, but only if you put in the effort. I'm a old farm boy. I'll tell you that first thing. You know, your corn's not going to grow till you get in the ground. Your beef cattle's not going to get fat unless you feed them. Your milk cattle's not going to produce sweet milk unless you can get it sweet feed. It's that simple. It's literally you get out what you put in. And when you sit there and expect others to do for you with no return, the whole system falls apart because nobody wants to put in the effort at that point. I go dairy farming. Am I going to sit there and spend the extra money for the sweet feed and get no money in return for it? That's what people are expecting. Believe it or not, the government is paying, I think it's still £7,500. The price really hasn't changed up at all since the 70s. My uncle just got out of dairy farming. He just sold a huge herd of dairy cattle. Why? Because it's not profitable. It hasn't been profitable since the 70s when he got into it. Now, granted, 70s, it was a big deal. You know, the government's taking over the dairies, so the price is always going to be there. You can count on that price. And the price was high. With the inflation and everything else, the price never changed. The price was fixed. So you never made a profit because as things became more and more expensive, you were still being paid the same price, the same price, the same price. You go in a hole like that, you got to be able to change with the market. Like me last night, I was sitting down for hours. I wrote down my business price by price. You know, $20 an hour for me to work. An acre is an hour and a half's worth of work. That's $30. Then $5 for maintenance on my equipment for an acre of land. So that becomes $7.50 for an acre and a half. And then on top of that, gas at $7 at $5 a gallon would be $7.50 for an acre and a half. Well, $7.50 for an acre, because it takes about a gallon and a half of gas for me to do an acre. So I did the breakdown by the acre, and for me to mow somebody's place 4 times a month with only an acre and a half of land, that's $195 to mow every week. We cannot continue with price increases. If gas actually reaches over $5 a gallon, and $5 a gallon is my closest estimate that I've gotten so far of what it's going to be next year, if it actually exceeds that, I'm running in the red again. I'm actually losing money again. So, but I don't want to overcharge my customers. Now, past 5 years, I've been able to make do with $150 for an acre and a half lawn. No problem. Now I've got to raise it to $200, close to $200 for an acre and a half of lawn. It's bad. So we need to understand how things actually work. Prices go up, everything's got to go up. And unfortunately, that means your profits got to go down. Because even before I could make headway, I can't make headway if I can't trust the prices. Because if the prices keep going up, we're still screwed. And I know it hits everybody hard. I mean, we're looking at the most expensive Thanksgiving dinner in history. Now, if there was allowed to be market competition, prices would be going down. And the reason why prices would be going down is because we would be growing our own food here. We would be able to openly compete in the market. And somebody's going to come up like me, where they're going to make pennies, but they're going to be profitable. And they're going to come up with that sort of way, and they're going to put that to the market, to where they're only making a few cents. And in truthfulness, by the time I start being paid in the middle of summer, yes, because maintenance in the beginning of summer is expensive, I'm going to be making pennies for the longest time. Now, Henry Ford said it the best way that I could ever imagine, and yes, those are my birds. But the man that could give the man the most he can for $1 is bound to succeed. Which often means the man that's selling the product is going to be getting pennies. But in that exchange, the more you can do, the more pennies you'll earn. And that's what makes you profitable. You can't be profitable if you're spending more than you earn. You can be profitable just making a penny per transaction you do. It's hard, but it works. Well, this has been my point of view. Y'all have a good one. Covered the economy, covered Indians, and or Native Americans, whichever way you want to call yourself. But to me, that's tomato, because unfortunately, we've been calling you Indians for thousands of years, and now we're changing to Native Americans, and Americans are going to have a slip of the tongue because we're used to history. It's no disrespect. Have a good one.